Hi, I'm Edward Samuelson. Welcome to the CineFiles. This show we're going to talk about political documentaries, films that were made by people who went out to get a message out about things that bothered them. And one film that really made me want to discuss this issue was a film that I saw called Streetfight. It was a documentary that was nominated for an Academy Award about the Newark City mayor's race. Two black men running against each other, and it's shocking that you would hardly believe it.
Well, this was the I take it the race took
in
place
2002. 2002.
2002.
And
yes.
we'll, after we finish this up, we'll have a somewhat happy ending for it. We'll discuss that in a minute.
Thank you for ruining it for people and their voting.
Well, I haven't given everything away yet, but it's two people who ran, and unfortunately, both of these men were black. And
unfortunately,
racism.
What's that supposed to mean?
No, I did not mean it like that. Unfortunately,
I'm like, what?
Racism became involved with it.
No, I mean not only that, but they were both Democrats.
They're both
black
Democrats.
men, both Democrats.
In Newark. And the film is Streetfight, like we're saying. Streetfight is probably one of the most, just an amazing documentary because it's made by one person. He's out there in the field with his camera capturing some amazing stuff, and it's amazing that.
So what you're saying is it's amazing.
It's just I'm sorry. It's just I'm speechless because it's a really amazing
well, let me,
film. I want you to start because I turned you guys onto this film. Tell me what your impressions.
I will take this away from you here. It's interesting because it's the incumbent Sharp James, who I believe was the mayor for
20 years.
Yeah, I was going to say almost 22 years, but he was in it for a long time, and Sharp James was one of the 5 major power brokers within New Jersey politics. If you were going to be governor of New Jersey, you have to work with one of these, or all 5 of these power brokers, and Sharp James was one of them. This guy was as entrenched in a political system within a city that you can get. And I think Sharp James ended up doing some really nice things for Newark, but Newark also had rampant poverty. It also had a terrible terrible crime rate. Terrible crime rate.
Newark was the car theft capital of the world.
Of course, and that's why Nick Gomez made New Jersey Drive.
And also, one of the biggest problems, drugs. Unbelievably bad in Newark.
But it also did a lot of downtown renovation. It also has Rutgers University, so it does have some hope to it. But this race came into fruition. Cory Booker had an opportunity to work for a New York City law firm when he graduated from Stanford. He also played football for Stanford University,
and
which is and so this guy was not a lightweight. He decides to run for mayor. I believe he actually went and was a part of the city council.
Yeah, he was a councilman.
He's a councilman, and he decided to run for mayor, going against a political machine, if there ever was one, with Sharp James. And let me tell you, this is an amazing documentary to show that the odds that this guy Cory Booker faced against Sharp James, and the lies that were perpetrated against Cory Booker, who seemed to be an honest guy doing an honest job. Where he had the choice of living in a nice apartment building somewhere.
And he chose to live in the slums.
He lived in the projects, and I mean that.
And the tactic Sharp James used to discredit him and just take down his political poster and anybody who supported him.
And this is stuff I want to mention that was captured on film and audio tape. Stuff, if you told me that this man said this, I would not believe it.
Well, sure. It called him a white boy.
He called him a Jew. He's not
a white boy, a Jew,
and he wasn't black
Republican,
enough. A Republican, and he wasn't black enough, which was another one.
Well, usually if you're called white boy, you're also going to be called not black enough.
I mean, those are things that he said, and he said he was a tool of the Jewish people. And I was like, how can you say something like that?
I mean, it was despicable. It was so bottom of the barrel, you almost expected to lift up the barrel and see Karl Rove hiding there.
I agree with you on that, and I cannot believe, I mean...
That's why it was called Street Fight.
It was a street fight, and the thing I love, too, is you see how Sharp James basically goes around town intimidating people, like giving them tickets.
But not so much Sharp James, it was his thugs.
His thugs.
And sad to say, his thugs were the cops, too. I mean, what'd you think of when you saw the police were doing a lot of the dirty work as in tearing down the signs?
Well, I thought, a misuse of power, and also like when they're ticketing businesses, and then I think one one time they caught, like, I think somebody Cory Booker knew was at a strip club, and they tried to say that the strip
business that supported him, right?
Yeah, and
it was a person who worked for his campaign. They said was at a strip club.
And they tried to say that the place was an illegally run place.
Where prostitution was rampant.
Exactly, and drugs were sold, and it's just, you know, all these underhanded things. But then when you see Sharp James, you see all the underhanded things like he does. I mean, he's, of course, the poster boy and all this Shining stuff, but you see all the, like, evil even when he had to, he agreed to an interview, and then when the guy tried to interview him, he had the security people, like, practically take the guy's camera and try and take the tapes.
And they broke the camera. They broke his camera. You know, they actually grabbed his camera and said, "You don't have any permission to be here." And they got this all on camera when they thought the camera was off. Thank God he left it on. But, I mean, this shows you politics is a really dirty business, and I mean, people should see this.
Well, you're naive if you think it's anything else. I mean, it not only well, I'm sure. I wish somebody would have made a documentary about the race in 2004 because it's obvious that John Kerry was incredibly screwed.
I believe so too.
In Ohio and possibly other states, New Mexico, Iowa, Florida. But I mean, yes, it is very sad to say. But there is something majorly wrong in the political machine of America where you can see underhanded, dirty-ass tactics used in a city race for mayor or a national race for president, and I'm sure coming up in 2006 we're going to see a lot more. Now, there was wonderful moments in Streetfight 2 where you got to see, I hate to overuse this word, but I like using this word a lot, surreal moments where then New Jersey Governor McGreevey, who is no longer governor anymore. He had to leave office because of being a homosexual and whatever, and the scandal that would have ensued. But him sitting there doing this dance maneuver at the podium going, "Sharp James is the real deal. Sharp James," and just doing this dance, and it is so creepy and weird and
very gay.
Not saying gay is bad, but it was more creepy and weird than anything else. It's
weird to see a political official dancing like that.
And starting the chant. But then there was that chant towards the end when they're starting to read the election results and seeing those come through and Sharp James being declared the winner, even though by narrow margin. And you see this room packed with what it seems to be working class folks. And you see this really big fat black guy, he looks like he's laying on a table or like leaning on something, and everybody is saying, you know, everybody's chanting Sharp James is the real deal, and this fat black guy keeps yelling, "Forever!" Like every time they say that. Remember that? Mm-hmm. "Forever! Sharp James is the real deal. Forever!" And
what upsets me too in this movie is that you have people like Jesse Jackson endorsing this guy. And I mean, there's all this evidence. It's like they didn't do any research. The only person I believe that
Al Sharpton
was another one who was just a blowhard, just wormed his way in there to get publicity.
I actually like Al Sharpton a lot. I just kind of wish. I think that you know, if Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson were to see Street Fight, which I'm sure they might have, I'm wondering what their reaction would be if they would say, well, I can't condone Sharp James's action on this, or if they would have say, I can imagine Al Sharpton would say something like, well, that's just politics. But I'm wondering if Jesse Jackson would just circumnavigate the whole discussion and turn it the way, I don't know. I would have liked to see their reactions. It's one of those movies where
you really want to hear their actions.
You'd like to see it on like a news program and have a roundtable discussion with various politicians.
I have to credit too. Spike Lee makes an appearance in the film and supporting Cory Booker, which was a cool thing for him to do. The thing that Cory Booker runs on, I want to wrap this up. I don't want to go too much on this, but Cory Booker basically says, you know, Sharp James has another job where he's secretly pocketing all this money, you know, and there's all these scandals that Sharp James had. Exactly. Very wealthy man. And he completely renovated downtown and put all the stuff, but he forgot about the people who are like, they're, you know, living in poverty, and he's knocking down projects for just real estate developments.
And to wrap this up for you, in the best way I know how, yesterday, to kind of time warp this a little bit, the Newark Mayoral race
mention what happened in 2002 first. What happened?
And, well, you know, but I already said he lost.
He did lose the election in 2002.
Yeah, he lost the election because I said that Sharp James had his, you know, the poll results came in and Sharp James won. But Sharp James elected not to run for re-election for, I guess, a 23rd term or whatever it was.
Probably he saw the movie.
And he saw the writing on the wall that his ass was going to get beat. And sure enough, Cory Booker won by almost 70%. over the, I guess it would
Sharp
be
James
the
appointed
assistant
guy.
mayor,
Yeah.
Ron Rice. And now Cory Booker is going to have his legacy start in Newark, and it will be one of the cities in America to really watch for and see what this young man does.
I think he has a very bright future as a politician because he really,
I say young man, I think he's 2 years older than me.
He's
so.
37. He's
Yeah.
he's a very good guy, and I have a lot of respect for him. I mean, he never really went to Sharp James level, even though he could have. He really could have.
Well, one thing that we didn't get to see in Streetfight, and I don't know if you were very intrigued by, but I was, is the debate we were not allowed to see. We were only allowed to hear it, and that sounded like a riot in and of itself, and with all the accusations and shouting.
That's what he calls him, not black enough, and not Jew.
I heard white
that.
boy. I heard white boy during the debate. You only got to hear a little bit of the sound, but it went so crazy, and there was like a near riot and everything. But yeah.
I guess we can all agree, Street Fight is essential viewing for documentary fans. If you like Michael Moore's films, and this is essential.
More than March of the Penguins, which beat it for an Oscar.
I still can't believe that. This deserved it a lot more.
Shut up, guys. I mean, March of the Penguins.
Stop with your
Penguins is a good movie.
fucking penguins.
That was an epic thing. That just it goes to the filmmakers for spending that much time in Antarctica. Give them credit.
I have more interest
Watch
in what's
National
happening in the real world than about
Geographic,
penguins.
and
Hey, I'll spend some time in Newark before I go to Antarctica.
Sure.
Although some days.
Wow. Well, what did you think, Jeff? Do you have anything you would like to conclude with on Street
No, I
Fight?
agree that it was great. One of the scenes that stood out in my mind was when Sharp James says that he has all the people behind him and he has these volunteers, and when the guy gets on the bus and he finds out that they're all paid to be there.
And they're not. And another thing too is that they're not even from New Jersey. They're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
They all got bussed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was illegal.
Yeah,
I believe,
bust
at
in
the time.
bust in volunteers. Love
Well, very, very, very good movie.
it. Bust in paid volunteers. That's brilliant.
Well, let's get to another movie, another political movie, and let me tell you, it's something that's actually going on in the headlines right now because the trial is going on. It's Enron, the most powerful people in the room. It's a documentary about the rise and fall.
No. Enron, smartest guys.
Sorry. There's the smartest guys in the room. It's about the rise and fall of the big energy company, which cost many people their life savings. It ruined families. It's just a horrible situation. And this movie puts the entire story of Enron out there for people to see and judge for themselves. It's really just. It's a movie. It really got to me. I did not know greed could be that. It just reminds me of Michael Douglas's speech in Wall Street. Greed is good because that's all these people.
It's very
are obsessed with.
dragnet in the sense that just the facts, man. And you have all the facts. And it's a film where you get to see the corporate raiders, as it were, like Kenneth Lay and Jeff Skilling and Andrew Fastow, hang themselves on camera, pretty much, especially Jeff Skilling, who lampoons his greed within the company for those little corporate films.
Yeah, those little corporate videos they made for the employees, telling them to invest their life savings in Enron stock.
It's not so much investing the life savings, but it's the idea of having your 401k drained like a Florida swamp.
Yeah, it's basically just throwing money in a pit. It was just, I mean, Jeff. Now, what did you think going into this Enron film? Did you know about Enron?
I knew very little about Enron, but going through this, you find out almost everything about Enron, and I mean, it wasn't shocking to me because I've always had a kind of skewed vision of business as a whole, especially when it's something that they're asking all their employees to invest in. And then when everything goes down, they're still off the hook with plenty of money, whereas all these people, are unemployed and they don't have any money or futures. And, they seem to just laugh it off. And they're also, and it shows the ties that all the politicians also have to this company. So it's like, can they really, in other words, could there really be a fair trial where they always just get off?
Yeah, that's a good point, because when I saw this movie, I was pissed. I was really angry. I wanted to scream because you see the Bush, like family is friends with the Lays and everybody, and it's all
Kenny boy.
Kenny washing their hands, and they just do whatever they need. They need anything, they got it. I mean,
wait, what's that about washing the hands?
What's the word? They clean their hands and they're free of it. They got all this. They got all their money. They got to keep it. They're trying to burn everything.
Well, according to recent, transcriptions from the trial, that Kenny Boy doesn't have really a whole lot of money anymore, but he still has, I think, 2 homes.
Yes, he has to have
or he may only have 1 home, but I mean, the government's pretty much seized a lot of his stuff, and I don't really see it as, I don't know if the prosecution's doing its job completely, but I don't really see any of these guys. I think the big three, Kenny Lay, Jeff Skilling, and Andrew Fastow, are
Weekend
definitely,
prisons, I think.
Yeah, but they're not going to go to Supermax. They're not going to be next to Kaczynski and Musawi.
That's what I mean. They're going to be in weekend prisons.
They're going,
country club.
They're going to country club prisons. They're going to be rooming next to, you know, Dennis Kozlowski and Michael Milken, I'm sure. So
you know what's just upsetting too is that a lot of things I didn't even realize this. You remember the years ago the California blackouts? You know, where you heard about this all over the news, but you never really heard what happened, why it happened. I didn't know.
You did, but it was like a year later, a year or two later, that, you know, the energy markets from, you know, with Enron were responsible for manipulating the power grid.
I didn't know that.
California.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
The thing that got me is there's a clip of audio in there where you hear these two, pardon my French, assholes.
Scumbags.
Yeah, they're just horrible. Talking about,
Scumbags.
oh, turn off the power again. We'll raise up the money some more, and then we can turn it back on. They'll call us begging for and they made a few $100 million just for the power being off a couple
Grandma
minutes.
Millie doesn't need her air conditioning or something along those lines.
And this is one reason that Arnold Schwarzenegger was able to go in there and take the governorship away from Gray Davis, because Gray Davis was the one who was blamed for these problems.
Exactly.
And it's just a shock that this stuff can happen. And there's another thing I want to mention too. The people that Enron would absorb these companies, and they would, these people would, they'd take get company stock, their insurance, and they could not. They had no option to say, we don't want Enron. They basically, their life savings, their 401ks were frozen. So they couldn't sell it, even though Kenneth Lay and everybody else could sell theirs.
Wait, what do you think about this, though? I think this is interesting in sort of a vomitorium sort of way.
Please, go ahead.
Don't you think it's sort of interesting that Gray Davis was scapegoated for a problem that essentially was not his when Daniel Issa went ahead and brought, the recall and everything up to Gray Davis, which was essentially Enron's fault for the blackout. Schwarzenegger got in. But turn it on the other side, and George Bush was not blamed for Enron at all.
Major stockholder.
Yeah, major stockholder for Enron. His campaign manager, Ed, the head of the Ken Mellman is now the new one. I'm trying to think. Ed O'Neill, or no, Ed.
Ed O'Neill is from Married with Children, my friend.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
No,
He was
but
involved?
Just his campaign manager or something.
No. It was the head of the Republican National Committee or whatever. He was the head lobbyist for Enron, but somehow none of that stuck to
And
Bush.
Cheney was one of the big. That's another thing. Cheney's had this problem before with Halliburton.
Exactly.
I don't know how this stuff keeps happening, people. I mean, we're a film review show, but these are relevant topics to our times, and this is the film, and we're viewing the film, and these are the facts.
Ed Gillespie,
yes,
the head of the
this.
chairman of the Republican National Committee.
And then one thing I want to give Enron credit for, the movie itself, not the company, because the credit that company does not deserve any credit. Number one is the filmmakers present everything as fact. They don't really go out and give opinions. They just show it as it is. They let the people talk for themselves, and it's
very dry, very deadpan.
And they basically show Kenneth Lay and everybody talking themselves. They don't put words in their mouth. They let them do the talking, and people can draw their own conclusions. It's a very well-made documentary. It's amazing. It's really should be seen by people to learn what's happening out there, because it's not reported in your newspapers.
It's one of the scenes that I enjoyed from it is when they had the Q&A, and the audience of Enron employees were allowed to write questions on note cards and send them up to Kenny Lay. And part of the trailer that you'll get to see on Enron, if you see it on a DVD or as you're seeing the film, is Ken Lay reading the note card, and it says, "Are you on crack?" Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That was a very humorous moment. And this.
Are you keeping track of as someone who did not really know anything about Enron before? Are you keeping track of the trial at all, or?
Not really.
I am. It's in page 56 every day of the newspaper, hidden. It's just we don't give a shit. It's.
I must admit, for a shitty newspaper like the New York Post is, they do have a special on Enron every time. Yeah, they do have a specific reporter covering that.
Well, we only got about 8
minutes. Did I mention that the New York Post was a shitty paper?
It definitely is. The only thing it's good for is to lie in your bird cage, as I tell people, or clean up after your dog. Another movie that I want to basically talk about is the last movie today, which is Wal-Mart.
which I loved.
Walmart, I forgot the
The high cost of a low price.
The High Cost of Low
Low
Price,
Price.
which was directed by
Robert Greenwald.
Robert Greenwald, thank you, who did Xanadu, believe it or not, and he also did Outfoxed. Two completely different films, but
Thank God.
I think he's a better documentary filmmaker. There's also another documentary on Walmart, which Mike turned me on to, Walmart
A Frontline.
Frontline episode, which is actually a better made documentary, and it's very insightful, but there's more.
It's very, very similar to Enron, Smartest Guys in the Room.
Very similar, but the thing about the Walmart documentary by Robert Greenwald is that it gives more information. But it's very ambitious, but it's a damn good documentary. Now, Jeff, I want to start out with you since you really like this. What do you think of it? Walmart.
Okay, well, Walmart, the whole thing, I didn't know any of this before I had even seen the movie. And just seeing the movie and seeing how, you know, hearing the actual managers or ex-managers for the stores, how they would talk, and seeing, like, the deterioration of the mom-and-pop store that was popular and, you know, wasn't worried that when Walmart moved into the neighborhood and then a year later, you know, when it first started, you know, the mom-and-pop store is a little worried, but they're like, don't worry, our loyal customers will come back. And then a year later, you're seeing them board up their store and everything and talking about what they're going to do now with the rest of their lives and how it's uncertain. And then you see, you know, the managers of the store talking about how they make sure people don't even get overtime, even if they've worked overtime.
And they insist that they go on federal assistance to pay for their bills.
Exactly.
No, pay for their health care.
The healthcare WIC.
Yeah, and then, of course, how they also know that most of the employees are going to spend most of the paychecks that they're giving back in the store by giving them maybe a pittance of a discount. But, you know, most of the money is coming back because Walmart sells everything that these people need. And how they're not allowed, and like for instance, they're not allowed to eat in the cafe because they look too depressed. And
it's the 1984. Basically, they work for Walmart, they buy from Walmart, so basically they work as slaves.
I was gonna say the only
Exactly.
thing that's missing is the colorless gray jumpsuits that Walmart should be commissioning the employees to wear.
Oh, I agree with you 100% on this.
and when they tried to even start a union, how everything just came down on these two guys, and you know people were even afraid to even ask about it because they would say, oh well, you know it's because of the unions you're not getting pay raise.
Can you imagine being afraid to vote on a job, a union at Walmart and losing your job at Walmart?
Exactly.
That really is a horrible thing. And let me tell you, in Canada, they actually voted for a union, and they decided to close the store because they didn't want a union. That's a pretty shocking thing. And also the thing I was most interested in is stuff I had no idea about. Actually, it's better discussed in the Frontline documentary that you recommended to me.
Yeah, Frontline is Walmart good for America.
You must see it. It's about the trade deficit we have with China and
Oh,
how
yes.
Walmart has taken advantage of this and how these people are treated. And you talk about people working at Walmart being slaves. Oh my God, these people are slaves.
Like even if like they all stay in a dormitory, but even if you don't stay in the dormitory, you're still charged rent.
It's sick. And these people, we saw years ago how Kathy Lee Gifford, even though I think she's Satan, I think she's a bitch. I hate her. But she got all this flack for, the sweatshop stuff. To be fair, I don't think she honestly knew about it. Walmart does know about this stuff. And they don't care because profits are very, very important to them. That's more important than anything else. Also, another thing, the crime in the parking lots. I can't believe it. Did you remember when you saw those names? I was like, wow, that's a lot of crime. That's a lot. Then you find out just in the first 6 months of that year, it must have been like about 1,000.
And then how all they had to do was have a security guard patrol it, and how the crime drastically dropped by having just a security guard just ride around the parking lot.
Yeah, and then what's another thing too about how if Walmart doesn't get a good tax subsidy, they leave the store and it's just abandoned, and how they what are some other things that I'm trying to think. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, I mean,
what stood out for you, Mike, in that documentary that you didn't know?
I think the one thing that Robert Greenwald does a very effective job in Walmart, the high cost of a low price, is the human aspect.
Yes.
The human aspect, and although there was some rebuttals or some sort of flack after the film came out, when you were spotlighting the mom and pop hardware store that we get to see at the beginning of the film, and they come out and say, I guess the owner or something came out and said, well, we didn't close because of Walmart, and that was like one thing that critics were really upset about, like, oh, you didn't get to see, you did a Michael Moore, you're not getting to see both sides of the argument, but whenever the CEO, and I forget his name, but whenever the CEO of
Tom
Walmart,
Scott.
yeah, whenever he does get a chance to talk, or whenever you get to see his emails or whatever, once again, it's a case like Enron. This guy hangs himself. That Walmart is a bully. The CEO acts as upon a bully pulpit.
I see no difference between him and a Führer of a dictatorship. I really don't.
Well, and it also goes to the Walton family. I mean, it all starts with the Walton family, this evil empire. And remember, Walmart is such a powerful corporation that no matter what major city you're in, you can get a direct flight now to that little piece of crap town in Arkansas, Bentonville, Arkansas. You can get a direct flight there now, and it's
a shot. Let me tell you something. I want to talk about this other one, but I want you to see, Jeff, to see the front lineup one, because that's one we really need to talk about, because there's some things that are covered in there, and they actually have interviews with Walmart. And it's something you should see in addition to this, because they're very, very good companion pieces. It's like you're getting everything. You know, you're getting chapter 1 and chapter 2. I was shocked. It's like, well, you're not going to lower your prices for us? Then we're not going to carry your products anymore. And then the whole company goes out of business. Rubbermaid was one. And then another thing, which was covered, I believe, in the front line, is that, did you know there's actually only one television manufacturer left in America? And Walmart was trying to get it shut down so it could get all its stuff made in China, the stuff from China and all these other countries? All these no-name brand stuff are made by one company in China.
And I'll tell you something, whether you're getting at Walmart or what, one thing to always keep in mind, and I try and do this now, and it is very hard, but if you go out and buy a shirt or a pair of pants or a television or something that, especially clothing or shoes, when you look at the tag, 7 times out of 10, it's going to say made in China, and that is just very, very depressing.
Right now, our trade deficit is over $170 million with them. They owe us $170 million.
And like you said, Walmart takes very good advantage of that. And when you buy Walmart, most of the time, folks, you're not buying America.
Remember that. And anyway, we hope this show enlightens
you. And Walmart's staying out of New York. Thank you, unions. Thank you, unions.
Be sure to email us about this, because this is a topic, if you don't email us about, well, I don't know what the hell you're emailing us about. Please disagree with us.
If we see your email,
rebut us.
Edwin will call it amazing.
Yeah, rebut us. We want to hear why you don't think Walmart is bad. Again, till next week, thank you.
I think we're asking for smart